Hey there, this is Therese Skelly, and I am so excited that you are going to be listening to an episode of the Fiercely Brilliant podcast. Do you like those two words? Fiercely Brilliant. My hypothesis is that you are here for a reason. We all are. Our souls have led us on journeys that have very often taken some twists and turns, and sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes there's struggle and there's loss and there's challenge, and in the middle of that, there's always a way out. And it's those times that often lead us into our great life and work. So you're going to hear stories in these episodes of myself and other beautiful people that share the journey. They share how they got to the place where they're standing, working in their brilliance, and being the powerful leaders that they are. So stay tuned and enjoy this episode. Hey, this is Therese Skelly, and this is gonna be a very good episode of the Fiercely Brilliant podcast, because my guest is living his brilliance in a way that is the story to get where Jack is today is an amazing and so inspiring story. You know, I bring folks on that are willing to share the real deal, that are courageous and willing to walk through fire to live their truth and to live in alignment with who they're supposed to be. And y'all might have seen Jack, because Jack was here with his wife, Tiffany. We recorded a show earlier. And so if you haven't seen that one yet, make sure you find it, because it was like a barn burner as well. You get these people, the walkers on the line, and whew, holy shit, stuff rolls. So Jack, I'm so delighted that you're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Therese. It's so good to be here. Good to be here.
It is. We have this like really cool little thing.
We do.
Going.
We do.
So tell us because I know you and Tiffany work together in your business. So tell us what you guys do and what you love about it.
Okay. Well, the people that we serve at the highest level are empaths, highly sensitive people, people that are deep feelers, people that are different than 80% of all people on the planet. Empaths tend to be a group of people that feel wrong and broken, maybe a little marginalized themselves, too sensitive, things like that. So our big passion is to help empaths literally find relief, really fast relief, so that they can begin aligning with their true self, which is that beautiful sensitivity. We see empaths as being the healers on this planet.
So much so.
And I know you are one.
If it doesn't kill them, that's the thing.
Yeah, if it doesn't kill you first. So we're here wrapping up the empaths to really support, sustain, and assist them, educate and train them into living their true self as their true self using their spiritual gifts at whatever level they deem that they want to for themselves. But, you know, we're all about helping you as an empath manage your energy in a way so that you can live a very successful, aligned life.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think Tiffany's going to come on and we're going to do a whole show on empaths because I think I am one, and a lot of my audience there's a lot of people out there that don't know they are. And so just keep watching. Keep watching when we get Tiffany on the show. Because it's like the blessing and the curse, the exquisite sensitivity that allows you to feel so deeply, and the curse of the holy shit, I'm feeling so deeply.
It's fucking exhausting.
It's exhausting. And why can't I just be the normal person? Like,
exactly.
You know, sitting in the loud bar having pizza and beer.
No.
Right.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So there's the dance of that, right? And how to accept that and use your gifts from that place. We're definitely going to talk more.
Yeah. And it's kind of strange with me being here today. I'm so glad to be here just to talk with you, Therese, about my story. And Tiff and I do the work. You know, we are a team. It's Tiff and Jack. I mean, that is who we both are. But I love being able to share my personal story.
Well, why don't you start? Because I've been watching you. I knew you. I knew you before the story started.
You did.
You know?
You knew that person named Susan, not Jack. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
all right.
That's where my story is a good place to start. So I was born as Susan. I was born as a male in a female body. So I would be called in today's vernacular a trans man. Okay. So sometimes people get a little confused. It's like, how do I say this? Yeah. So if you were born as a girl, but you're born male in a girl's body, you're a trans man.
Okay.
If you're born female in a male body, you're a trans woman or a trans female. Okay. So that's really where I started. And I made the transition, the actual public medical transition, where I started on testosterone therapy and had top surgery a couple years after that. And it's only been 6 years. So I'm 52 years old. At 45 years old is when I leaned in the biggest way to my truth. And that was the biggest and the scariest and the most right decision I've ever made.
Okay, hold on. There's so many questions. Okay. So Jackie, when did you know that I'm in the wrong, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong gender? When did you know that I don't feel like Suzie? When did you know that?
I just really appreciate you asking this question, because this is a real journey for any person, any trans person. Some people know earlier than others because I was raised in a very strict religious household. I was raised in the Mormon LDS faith, and there was no space at all for this conversation.
You don't question anything.
Oh, right? No, not at all. You just be good. You just do what you're supposed to do and follow the rules and listen to the prophet, and then you'll be saved. You'll be with God again someday. And so I didn't have any concept. I was very much a follower. I followed the rules. I was always the teacher's pet. I can follow the rules like nobody's business. And I followed those rules too. And it wasn't until I met Tiff. Tiff is the catalyst for me being here, because Tiff and I have a very big life together. And we are definitely twin flames, which is, it's a very challenging place to exist in flesh with your twin flame, but it's when you're going to live at the very biggest, highest level, and you're going to throw off all your limiting beliefs, and you're going to have all of your shit mirrored back at you 24/7. That's the work. That's where it all started. And we came together. It was actually this time of year, 14 years ago. 14 years ago. And when I met her, it was like a plug socket moment, and I was enamored with that woman. It was the sound of her voice. I'm a very audible person, and it was the sound of her voice that it felt like home. It was like, who is this?
Now, hold on. Wasn't she married at the time?
Oh, she was married, and I was married. We were both married. I was married to a man and had 4 kids.
Okay.
And she was married and had 2 kids.
Okay.
And neither of us were looking to not be in a marriage. My marriage was on the tail end. Like, there was a conversation going on about between us that things were just not jiving. Like, things were not working. I still didn't have an understanding. Oh, I'm a trans man. I'm married to a man. He doesn't call himself gay. Who knows? I don't consider myself gay. But I didn't know that I was truly here and going to be in love with a woman. So it was all new. So I met Tiff, and then at that point I had started loosening up my definition of God. So my religious upbringing had already started to loosen up a little, and I was willing to look out beyond it, to take in some new ideas, take it on and see how it felt. And if it felt good, I held it. And if it didn't, I threw it over there, because, I wasn't going to think about it. And then once Tiff and I were together, I just fell in love with her. Like, honestly, I just was totally in love with her. And that really challenged my identity. I think we all have to challenge our identities. It doesn't matter if we're born in the wrong sex or a sex that doesn't match who we feel to be.
Right.
You, me, all you, the listeners, the watchers, we all have to challenge our identity often.
In areas beyond gender and sexuality. And,
like
how much can you achieve? How much do you deserve? Like, we have identities of what is possible for us, right?
I'm so glad you just shared. Yes, all across the board. And so Tiff and I, we got very, very connected. I ended up getting a divorce about a year after Tiff and I met. And then she was still married for about 3 or 4 years as we moved in. We had a very unconventional relationship. Everything was very clear. Tiff and I were, after 3 years is when we crossed the line and realized we're madly in love with each other. We both spoke to it. It was frightening and liberating all at the same time. And as we were starting our business, also right on the heels of us being together, that's when, because our original business back then when we started, it was all about helping people clear their limiting beliefs, to identify and clear their limiting beliefs so they could have, be, or do whatever they chose. right? To live their authentic truth.
Yeah.
And little did we know our business was going to be the means for us to live in an ever bigger picture of our own choosing.
Okay.
And
I was going to say, I'm assuming you had family members at this time that were not really delighted.
None of them.
So how did, because I think, and again, it could be leaving a marriage, it could be leaving a religion, it could be starting a business, it could be changing your gender, whatever you're stepping into. I think the pushback, I feel like the fear of what are people going to say? Am I going to lose somebody? What about disapproving? What about how did you navigate that? Because that is probably the single piece that prevents people from living brilliantly, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And that is literally where, without identifying all the limiting stories and beliefs I held about myself, there's no way I could be where I am. There's no way.
Okay.
I identified and got rid of them using our process, but I had to look at them. I had to think about it. I had to be willing to make these decisions at the cost of family respect, them loving and respecting me. I'm the baby of 7 kids. I was like the loved little being that was born 5 years after the brother older than me. They're all completely religious. My family is so religious. And they felt like if they chose me, they were choosing me over God. And none of them would do that. So not only did I have to be willing to release my family's love, I had to be willing to release God as I was raised to know God.
Wow.
And venture out. And literally there was a moment where I was faced with a decision, and the decision was up on the surface as clear as day. It was either me following my heart, which at that point it meant I was going to have to leave my religion, because you can't be gay and be a Mormon, an active card-carrying Mormon. You can't. It doesn't match. They don't. It's not acceptable.
They don't accept that. Yeah.
No. And so I had to know that I was going to follow my heart and live this big life with Tiff. I mean, we had this business that was just coming into existence. We loved each other. Still didn't know how to navigate the fact she was still married. My marriage had just ended, and I had raised 4 kids as religious as I was. I was raising them in the religion. She was in the religion. So I knew that piece, if I followed my heart, I was going to have to let go of all of my safety structure. Like everything that I deemed my safety outside of myself, religion, God, God's love, God's acceptance from God towards me. But my heart, it was the most clear. I could feel the 2 choices that I had in my hand, and knowing what I was having to let go of if I chose my heart. But I just couldn't live if I wasn't following my heart. I'd be a robot. I'd just have to be a robot and go through the motions. So I chose my heart, released my family. My family is still very much not a part of my life. It's not, I have a few little exchanges here and there with certain family members, a little bit with my mom. My mom has a very big struggle with me transitioning. She's 90 and still sees me as Susan and her daughter. And there are just some choices that we make as people where we allow certain people into our life at the level they can be there. And that's one of those places I stand, but it's always, it's challenging. For sure.
I feel like the story you just told is, am I going to choose myself, or am I going to choose the old paradigm? Choose, like 100%. You said, all my security and safety. And let's, like, you're so eloquent in it. You're so, I chose myself. And I know it wasn't that easy. Right. And if somebody is like, I've never chosen myself, they've brainwashed me, or they've told me all these things bad that are going to happen. How do you, like if somebody's in front of you today, how would you counsel them about getting the courage or the strength to choose themselves and let the stuff fall away that needs to fall away? Because I think that is a really critical piece here.
This is the most important question that you're asking.
Yeah.
And the first thing we have to figure out is what we want. So what is our heart calling to? Yeah. That's really the place where you get to start identifying, what is it I want? Now, why that is so scary for us as humans, because we don't want to be abandoned. We don't want
Absolutely.
to be rejected.
Right.
We're one. Our energy is all made of the same substance. So we really are all one, but our greatest fear is that we're going to lose our connection with the people that we love. So it gets really hard to identify what do I want, because we've created many times our wants are hinging on another person's love. So we just want to show up in a way that that person will love me.
Gives us the good stuff, right?
Yeah, that gives us, and God, not to mention God.
Oh,
so if you have like salvation, let's just throw a little salvation for goodness sake.
Just for the rest of your life in eternity. But
hey, what's the problem here? So first you have to identify what you want. A really quick way to identify what you want, if you're somebody that struggles doing that, put it into the words or a scenario for yourself where you just tell yourself, if every single person in my life celebrated my decision, like they just, whatever I chose, everyone just went, yes, this is the best thing for you because you're doing what feels right to you. That's your answer, what you want. Because a lot of times we'll say, no, I can't do that because of my kids, or I can't choose that because of my family. I can't do that because of my spouse. Then, it's not going to work. So you start disconnecting yourself from yourself. You start creating this disconnect. And then suddenly you're like living in the land of robot land, just going through the motions. Life sucks. You just feel like you're living at the bequest of everyone else. You're just here to do for everyone else, but you don't get to have for you. Yeah. And it's because we've disconnected what we really want, because we've believed at some level, if we have it, it's going to cause disconnect, or we're going to lose our
and you do lose. Sometimes you do.
You do.
Right. So that's
but the truth is your heart will never lead you astray. Your heart is your North Star. When you can get in touch with what you really want, like if just go in your secret little chamber and like write a list of all the things you really want for yourself. And then that's where your heart is like your North Star. That's your connection to your higher self that has a much bigger picture than we do in a human brain. And then you start moving towards that. First, you have to identify, well, what do I want for myself right here? If everyone was happy with whatever I chose, what would I choose?
Nice. I'm going to say two things. If you follow your desire, you will not go wrong. And the word, like literally the root word of desire is of the Father. So it's literally God expressing through you. Like that's what you're supposed to do in the world. Like that is your mission in the world. Yeah. But most people talk themselves out like, oh, that's crazy. Oh, what's going to happen? You know what I mean? And so we get in the little mind chatter, as opposed to so there's one, like you talked about, what if everybody okayed that? Flip it. What if you get to the end of your life and you don't do it? How's that going to be? Because I'm all about like no regrets. Because imagine if at your age you still were Suzie.
Oh my God.
Right.
If I had to still have babes and I still had to have everyone that looks at me, I have a voice that's definitely higher. I get misgendered on the phone all the time. And I just have had to reframe that. It's like, it's my opportunity to assert who I am often, which is, that's a powerful thing.
Yes.
But visually now, it's like I can pass and people don't misgender me when they look at me. With a mask, it got a little tricky sometimes, but it's like, it's really important. Our desires, we're designed with our desires. Yes. Like our desires are hardwired into us. And you're right. If we get to the end of our life and we go, what? We could have done it all.
Yes.
And I just was too afraid because I thought I wouldn't be okay. And the truth is, our safety is inside of us. Our everything is operating from within. And it's only when we hook it to something out external that we get in trouble, because then we're let down. Because then that, an external thing will never be our source of safety. Our source of safety is this beautiful creation that we are, with a direct line to all that is, to our higher self, to our angels and guides. Yeah.
I love that. Oh my gosh. It feels like when you commit to, okay, I'm going to say yes, there's a process to get to the yes, right? So number one, know what you want.
Yeah, know what you want.
Say yes to it. And you have to be in acceptance that shit falls away. People disapprove.
Yeah.
And what I know, I've not gone through what you've gone through, but I've gone through a shit ton of loss and change and I always make it through. Things always get better, right?
Always.
And so you don't know that in the moment, but was there a time Jack, before you were Jack. So you did the, like, you left the marriages, you guys got together, and you were still a lesbian couple at that point. It was a time you were like, oh my God, this is it. And then there was the like, oh wait.
Yeah, that is exactly what it is.
I got boobs. Shit.
Right. It was such a process because I still didn't know. And I had a very hard time accepting the title lesbian because it never felt aligned with my energy, but I didn't have a good explanation.
What other word? Right. Yeah.
I didn't know how to say that why it didn't. And it is literally the gift of Tiffany in this experience and us coming together that was created by us in a very big way before we got here. And I've been in conversation and process all these years with her in a very deep way. And she actually one morning through Source, she's a very gifted intuitive. And she woke, when I woke up in the morning, and she said, hey, I've just been reading about being transgender. And even at that point, when she brought it to my attention, I didn't have a good understanding. My first thought is it was like transvestite or like a
just
dresser.
Clothes, right.
Yeah, I didn't understand the depth of the meaning of that. That's how disconnected I was.
Okay.
And because of my upbringing, my brain, I didn't have a concept. I didn't have a way to wrap around it. So she starts reading through this whole list, and I just sat there in absolute shock. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I finally figured who the fuck I am. And I didn't know. Every single marker was in place. And then it was a 2-year process of going from there to making the firm decision.
Wow.
I went back to transition. So I was debating, like, do I just live my whole life incognito and just have the world see me as Susan, have the world know me as Suzie, and Tiff and Suzie? That's our branding. And, you know, it was like, okay. And then, and it was up and down. And sometimes I'd put it over here on the side because I couldn't reconcile. My biggest sticking points is that I could possibly lose Tiff because I didn't know if I transitioned how I would be. It was so unknown. Be hormone therapy.
Have testosterone. You think
it's like, am I going to be an angry beast? Like, oh my God. And then I gave birth to 4 kids, and I was going to have to go to each of them and say, hey, the person that you think is your mom is actually your dad. Wow. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not willing to lose my kids.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to lose Tiff. But at the final moment, that decision was mine and mine alone. It was the most selfish decision, self-serving in a very beautiful way decision that I could ever make, because it was only about me.
You know, there's a lot of people, Jack, that shift identity. Maybe they shift identity from, oh, I'm a heavy person and now I'm a healthy thin person, or I'm a struggling business owner to now I'm a 6-figure. But they don't die. Like, you literally, Suzie died. Like they're totally. Like, that's a whole different. No wonder it took 2 years. It took 2
years of intense bag work. I was doing tons of inner work to clear all of my limiting beliefs of the horrific outcome I thought would result from the choice. And as I cleared it off, disconnecting the emotional weight of it, because every time you clear a limiting belief, then you no longer have that chemical dump in relation to the lie or the story you're telling yourself. So it got easier, and I got more clarity, and I would put it away and I'd bring it back up. And Tiff and I had gone on a drive one day through the mountains that we live in. We love the mountains. We go up the canyons, and we were just driving, and it was at top of mind, but I hadn't said anything. And she just brought it up out of the blue, and she goes, when are you going to transition? And I just started to cry. I'm like,
I'm crying too.
I can't even, I'm like, oh my God. I just started to sob, and I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly where I am. And I just said, okay, like, this is it.
Do it.
I'm doing it. And honestly, I'm so grateful that I designed my life this way in the big picture before I got here, that Tiffany would be my greatest advocate and the person that's going to mirror back to me all my limiting beliefs and stories and allow me to do the work that I had to do to be where I am. And I made the decision. Once I made the decision, I wrote a letter out and sent it out to every one of my family members, letting them know this is who I am. I love you. I also understand your religious upbringing, because as I was raised with all of you, my door is open should you choose to connect and engage. I had a few people come after me and my family and how can you do this to mom?
Yeah, right.
And, you love your family.
Of course.
You love
Of
them.
course.
And they're looking at it as though I'm doing it to hurt
Right.
people.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not doing this to anyone. I'm choosing this for me.
Right. And again, you chose yourself over other people. That's how it looked.
You
But
have
at the end of the day, you
That's
have
how
to
it
choose
looks.
yourself.
Yeah, you have to choose yourself, Therese.
Yeah, that's it.
All of you
Yes.
listening have to choose yourself.
Yeah.
No one else is responsible to choose
Yeah.
you. Only you get to choose you.
So how did it go with the kids? How was that?
So what happened? I had one of my Tiff's two kids were super open, warm, welcome. Like,
Awesome.
okay, we get it. Fantastic.
Okay, cool.
My four kids, all four of them have had their own journey, and I honestly think they're still kind of in it.
Okay.
And they're very embracive. They're very loving and supportive. They're very encouraging. I had one son that kind of jumped off and gave me a come to Jesus conversation. He happened to be serving a Mormon mission at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So he was really lost.
He was in it.
He no longer is a part of that religion, has left it, is very, very much an advocate. My best guy.
That's awesome.
That's super. Great. But there was some pushback. I went to the kids. I was scared to death. I was so afraid to tell them that this is who I am. They were gracious. The other three were very gracious at the outset, but it's a process of learning to transition with me. Now, what I hear from my kids often is they're like, I can't even believe you were ever anything different. Like that you ever looked different or that you weren't Jack and that, and we've had to have ongoing clarifying conversations that can feel difficult. And these are all about setting your own personal boundaries with other people, right? Yeah. This is who I am. And if you choose not to engage with me as this person that I am, then I can say goodbye and wish you nothing but the best for you in your life. But I choose to only be in places where we can have a two-way reciprocal love and appreciation of one another in our uniqueness. It's been amazing with all the kids to, have to come to them and say, I'd really like you to call me Dad instead of Jack. Because for a while, it's like, please call me Jack. Yeah. And then I'm like, it doesn't feel aligned. I want to be seen and known as Dad. Yeah. So I'm asking you, if you will, of your free will and choice, call me Dad. It's a work in progress.
Well, they have a dad though too. They have
another dad.
So that might be
another dad and another dad. And what dad are we talking about? And so it's, where we are today is fantastic. I honestly would tell you every step of the way, there hasn't been a day that I would go back and change my big decision to be true to me. And not even
multiples of big decisions. It wasn't just the one. I mean, there was this was a big one. Yeah.
I'm not Suzie, I'm Jack. Yeah. That one right there, I would never change. I would do it again 1,000 times over. And one thing really, really quick, when I had my top surgery, like I said, it was a couple years after I had started using testosterone. So basically I do a testosterone injection once a week. Tiff gives me my shot. She's my naughty nurse. She comes in, she's like, here's your shot. Give me testosterone. And then I had top surgery about 2.5 years in. And I thought for sure once I had my boobs cut off that life would be so great, right? I didn't have facial hair. I mean, I'm like 6 years in and like, this is spotty facial hair. Right. It's better than a husband. And, I thought once my boobs got cut off, I would just feel magically, perfectly me. Nope. I felt like I had an invisibility cloak ripped off of me and that I was naked and
really
scared to death because now everyone could see me. Because before I was always hiding behind either my boobs, it's like it's easy to be hiding
kind of in between a little bit, right?
Like you're kind of like underneath. And then suddenly it's like I just kept coming more and more forward. And the reason I'm talking about this is because you and all of us have to bring ourselves forward more every day.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you know how it is, Therese, when you get on and the first time you ever did a podcast or did your recording, your show, it's so scary to put yourself out there.
Absolutely.
But today it's like, oh, sure. Like,
easy.
Let's do this. This is fun.
Yeah.
So the more you do it, the more true you are to yourself, the more you bring yourself, whoever that is, as you're expanding and growing out, the easier it gets. So at first you're afraid you're going to lose everything. If I do this, I won't have anything. Everything will fall apart. And then you do it, and you're like, oh my God. And like, I still have, all my wife, my kids, like life is good. All of our friends, all of our clients were so supportive, didn't lose any friends. And it just gets better and better and better. So my message is just go for it. Like take action.
Whatever it is,
even if it's just little baby step action.
Absolutely. You don't have to cut your boobs off.
You don't have to cut your boobs off.
Maybe it's whatever would, unless you want to. Jack can give you tips on that.
Yeah.
But for me, the show is called the Fiercely Brilliant Podcast. And if you could just do a little snapshot of when you were Suzie, married, living in the religion that you were raised with, and now Jack Walker, living with, look at the comparison of how much more are you self-expressed, and more so, how much more service are you being in the world because you're so let's talk about that, because that's ultimately, like, we go through the fire so we can bring more of our good, more of our gifts. So just let's just end with that conversation, because it's an important one.
Perfect. So Suzie completely shut down, worried to death of what everyone around her thought, scrambling to try to look right, to do it right, to say the right things, to show up at church, to show up as a mom, to show up as a daughter, to do it all the way that I thought I was supposed to. I was literally so shut down, completely shut down, because I had to cut off my own feelings so I could show up the way I thought everyone else would to. So I was giving it my best shot. Totally, utterly felt like I was living from behind a thick sheet of glass, completely disconnected. I kept looking, going, I have this big, beautiful life, $1 million practice. Like, we just had tons of money, tons of this, tons of that. And I felt totally disconnected. I'm like, why do I feel so dead?
Right.
Where I stand today is completely, wildly alive. We have a global footprint. We are helping thousands of people align with their true sensitive self, loving and accepting who they are, so they can tap into what they want, so they can set boundaries, so they can use their gifts to help bring healing to the world at whatever level they choose. I love cigars. I love tequila. I love having good sex. I love cursing. I love saying fuck. I've never said fuck. Okay. Oh my God. Every day, like, I am all about pleasure, as much pleasure as I can enjoy, work as hard as I can work in the work that I do, making a difference in the lives of amazing, beautiful people on this planet. And I fucking know what I'm talking about. That you get to live your best truth. You get to live your best life. You get to live authentic to you. You just have to figure out what that is.
Whew. I think that I want to can I just go right on, Therese, for asking that last question, because bam, because the contrast, Jack, like that, you had everything on paper. You were
I did have everything on paper.
Quote,
all the vacations and the nice clothes and the nice jewelry.
And you were not even in your life. And you probably weren't serving, you were
not at all
serving the
I was
model.
going through the motions.
Exactly.
It was doing it because I thought I should, not because I was passionate about doing it, because I loved the work.
And so now I love cigars, I love sex, tequila, swearing. I do. Your passion.
I love food. I love it. I love to laugh.
And there we go. So people that are listening or watching this is an example of being fiercely brilliant. And I love the fire that Jack walked through. I love the demonstration of the courage and the tips we've given. And so, oh my gosh, if folks want to follow you and Tiff, we got to throw in the beautiful
we're always together.
You're always together. So where do folks find you?
Okay, the easiest way, our website is Tiff and Jack. Go figure, tiffandjack.com. But if you're an empath, you're a highly sensitive person, we invite you to our Connected Empath Facebook group. And Therese, I think you said you'll pop the link into your show notes. But Connected Empath Facebook group on Facebook, that's our free group. That's where we bring all of our empaths in, and we snuggle you up and kiss your cheeks and start helping you accept yourselves right there at the beginning. So that's the invitation.
Really cool.
We'd love to have you there.
And is there any, not that you've not given 69 wisdom bombs here today, is there anything, just kind of tap into your heart, or is there any energy that wants to be spoken of, or just any truth that you want to share?
There is.
Okay.
And the truth that I want to share is, if it feels like your whole world is falling apart right now, I promise you it's coming together. Like
Ooh.
when things look like they're falling apart, I promise you, keep going. Just get clear on what you want in that moment and keep going. It's coming together for you. That's the truth.
We just got to stop it right there. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Jack Walker, I adore you. It's such a delight to have you. Your energy is infectious and your story is phenomenal. Now, listening, watching, gang, maybe you've never had the experience of wondering if you were in a different gender or having to decide to leave a faith that you were raised with. But every one of us has had the experience of going, why am I not being true to myself? How could I live more of me? Yep. And so take Jack's words, take our stories, take the lessons of how to be more of you, how to navigate that. That's your work to do in the world, and be fierce to get that work out in the world. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jack.
Thank you, Therese.
Peace and blessings. Bye. Hey, this is Therese, and I'm so excited that you were with us today for another episode of the Fiercely Brilliant podcast. If you are inspired to get to that brilliant place, if you heard some wisdom today that made you think, yeah, I need some help in that area, I would encourage you to have a conversation with me. Super simple. You just go to thereseskelly.com/let's connect. It's a no charge, no pressure conversation. And if I can support you to clear the blocks, to really step into that brilliance, oh my gosh, it would be a delight. And I'll be honest with you, we'll just have a great conversation and see where we can take it. Peace and blessings. Bye.